Police managed to keep the protesters at bay. Brazil has already shed more than 750,000 jobs due to the global economic slide, with the long-term forecast expected to worsen. Protesters here want the leaders at the G20 summit in London this week to ease the credit flow to prevent further job cuts.
On the other side, we've got the police, and on this side, we've got the protesters.
Why are you gathered here? We are here to tell world leaders that workers must not pay for the crisis. The Oliveiras are part of Brazil's growing middle class. The recent salary increase at Marcus Oliveira's work, together with government social assistance, has given his family greater discretionary income. Government tax reductions has made it far easier for us to buy a new car. The São Paulo subway transports more than 3 million passengers daily. However, it's unable to cope with the transport demands in a city of 11 million people.
This is the excavation machine used in the expansion of the São Paulo metro. It's a slow and cumbersome process, with the machine progressing only 15 meters per day.
The subway's expansion will cost 900 million rand, employing about 5,000 workers.
The only thing I'm afraid is in foreign relations. Serra can stop this way that you have been during Lula's period, looking to Africa.
What is important in democratic countries is the preservation of institutions. And South Africa has institutions.
President Jacob Zuma, on his first state visit to Brazil, the president signed agreements in areas of trade, energy and sport. However, one of the burning issues was the increasing drug trafficking between both countries. Foreigners that commit crimes outside their countries must be charged and sentenced according to the law of that country.
If you are a South African, you committed a crime in Brazil or vice versa, you then have to be treated in a special way. I think let us allow the law to take its course.
According to the federal police, there are more than 140 South African citizens in Brazilian jails for drug trafficking.
And I'm outside, but I still need to go back to my family. I don't want to stay in Brazil.
Chavez supporters are gathered outside the plush Hilton Hotel where the summit is being held. Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez is expected to use the Libyan leader's influence to expand ties with African nations. More than 60 presidents from Africa and South America are expected to attend the summit. The disappearance of flight AF447 has been shrouded in mystery.
It's such a big plane, so many people, they can't just disappear.
Here at the Brazilian Military Operations Center, the search for flight AF447 is coordinated. The plane disappeared en route from Rio de Janeiro to Paris. 228 people of more than 30 nationalities, including a South African, were on board the Air France plane.
Tratamento pericial.
Here, forensic investigators loaded the bodies from the plane into a truck. Families of the deceased have been asked to assist with the identification of bodies. Santos is the biggest port of entry for goods into Latin America.
These are the containers that were exported from the United Kingdom to Brazil, believed to be carrying recyclable plastic. When the containers were opened, it was found that they contained toxic waste. The toxic waste was repatriated to the UK at the expense of the British export company.
This trash is going back to England, even if it would be easier to incinerate it here.
Both the UK and Brazil are signatories to the convention, which came into force in 1992. Frank Ferro, SABC News, Santos, Brazil. Under Brazil's new amnesty law, their lives are about to undergo a radical change. The finality of this law is to allow foreigners to work legally. The immigrants are welcomed, sharing in the same benefits as normal Brazilians. At sunset, the Guarani tribe gathers inside the prayer house. Here the tribe practices their traditional songs, dances and myths. pipe smoking and drinking chimarrão, a strong herbal tea, is an ancient tribal ritual, but the age-old tradition of smoking from the same pipe has now been suspended. The charm of the Amazon's folklore greets the hundreds of delegates attending the conference. It's the first UNESCO Adult Education Conference in the Southern Hemisphere. The last one was held in Hamburg, Germany in 1997. 12 years later, and the world is not even close to eradicate adult illiteracy.
I think that the big challenge is to have a kind of a national, global educational plan.
The private sector companies will provide a 1% levy on their wage bill towards vocational education. And that's why we have been, supplementing what government is providing for adult education.
It aims to involve governments, civil society, and the private sector to invest more in adult education. Frank Ferro, SABC News, Belém, in Brazil. After 5 days of high drama at sea, the Brazilian Navy find the stricken vessel.
It was a very delicate search and rescue operation. The Del Kerry was found 2,000 kilometers from here, halfway between Rio de Janeiro and Cape Town.
We saw that it was a very small boat.
Agonized about what to take and what to leave, and basically everything is on the boat. But, we've been living on board for 9 years.
They'll soon be returning to South Africa, but this time they'll be taking a plane. People form huge queues outside the Bom Prato restaurant daily. They are Brazil's growing numbers of poor people. Those lucky enough to make it inside pay R1, the equivalent of about 5 rand. Government subsidizes the rest of the meal at 12 rands.
And the demand is becoming bigger and bigger.
Bom Prato, which means a good plate of food, began 9 years ago. Its aim was to feed the city's homeless people, but it became so popular that it's now a restaurant for those unable to afford a meal elsewhere.
This is one of 30 government-subsidized restaurants in the state of São Paulo. On average, they feed over 1,800 people daily.
The landless movement has won 16 million hectares of land for about 300,000 families. Hardly enough, as close to 5 million families in Brazil are still in dire need of land. Activists say they'll continue to occupy more land in the endless fight for access to land. Brazil's swine flu outbreak has left an overworked health sector. Here, people wear masks to protect them from the virus. Those most at risk are young children, pregnant women, and the elderly. The number of patients in hospital because of the disease has now risen by 50%.
These tents have been set up outside the hospital to ease the pressure inside of people reporting of swine flu symptoms.
Here, patients are tested to ensure they haven't been contaminated with the virus. Government has appealed for calm as they embark on a national campaign to inform people on how to stop the virus from spreading. Frank Ferro, SABC News, Osasco, Brazil. Dengue fever outbreak here has reached epidemic proportions. Scores of people are being treated daily for the virus. Brazilian Air Force medics and doctors race against time to save those infected with the virus. Thousands of people here have already been diagnosed with dengue, and the numbers just keep growing. There's no vaccine or drug to treat mosquito-borne dengue fever. However, fumigation does kill the virus, preventing it from spreading. The marvelous city, famous for its beaches, carnival and samba music, was always in with a chance. Crowds gathered early as a party atmosphere gripped the city.
A wonderful feeling to have the Olympics here, on my town, my heart.
We have gained the recognition of the international community. The city will be ready to host a world-class event. Frank Ferro, SABC News, Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil.